What's up, everybody? The question and answer video that I promised will be done next week. Don't worry about sending me any more questions. I have plenty to do the next video with, so it'll be good, it'll be fun, and stay tuned for that next week. Before I get into the pay-per-view preview, though, I did want to talk about MVP and his release from the WWE. And the reason I want to talk about it is because everybody else is talking about it, and I'm just a little copycat. Because if nobody else was talking about it, I wouldn't say anything about it, because I'll be honest, I was never a big fan of MVP. I was never impressed with him as a talent. And this release doesn't surprise me, because he wasn't a major fixture in anything. He was a non-factor. I think WWE kind of lost... I don't know if they lost faith in him or just ran out of things to do with him, but they just weren't using him, so he was a non-factor, and they let him go, and I think they could easily fill his spot with another young talent. Well, he wasn't young. He was like 38, 39, so he was not exactly a young gun. But personally, one of my major knocks on MVP was that the gimmick just didn't make much sense to me within the confines of the storyline. You had a guy who was the highest paid free agent in WWE history. And if you're creating this character, you have to ask the question, okay, why is he the highest paid free agent in WWE history? Is he an amazing athlete on par with an AJ Styles or a Shelton Benjamin or a Kofi Kingston or an Evan Bourne? Well, no, not really. Does he have a great wrestling background like Kurt Angle or Brock Lesnar? No. Not if he does, I'm not aware of it. Does he have a huge independent following like CM Punk or Daniel Bryan? No, not that I'm aware of. The internet kind of got behind him, but that was after he came to the WWE again. He was one of those internet favorites that I just never saw what the big deal was. Is he a major pickup from another company on par with the WWE? Well, since the death of WCW, there are no major wrestling companies on par with the WWE, so no, he's not. Is he a big star from another sport, like football or boxing or MMA? Again, not that I'm aware of. He didn't come from any of those realms, and if he did, he wasn't a major star. So there's really nothing about him that screams, hey, he should be the highest paid free agent in the WWE. So I don't think the talent really fit the gimmick, just based on his own history. But that's just my opinion. So yeah, I never saw what the big deal was with MVP, and WWE, they stopped using him in a capacity that matters a long time ago, so this release really isn't a big deal. Not to me, anyway. So, yeah, pay-per-view preview, final resolution, and you know what? It's second one in a row. Second pay-per-view preview in a row where I'm going to be a little positive. Because like Survivor Series, I said this about them for WWE, this card is TNA's best pay-per-view card in a while. This is not a bad card. I'm a little impressed, shall I say. I even kind of, sort of enjoyed Impact this week. It had some of its usual problems, but less so than usual. So it was actually not that bad of a show. And this card on paper doesn't look that bad. Excuse me. I mean, it's not perfect. I think it's a little over-gimmicked. And some of these matches could have been saved for Genesis or maybe even Against All Odds, because I'm not one of those guys that thinks, oh, they're doing a feud now, so they have to get the match at the next pay-per-view. Personally, I think you can let things grow and develop over a few months. If they wanted to hold off Joe and Jarrett for another month, I'd have been okay with it. Let the feud grow and develop a bit more. Make us want it, Because that's part of the problem with wrestling now, is that everything's so rushed. And they feel like they just have to rush everything to the next pay-per-view instead of having more of a long-term plan. But, that's another discussion. But overall, on paper, I don't think this card is that bad. The one dud on the card is the X Division title match, and that's Robbie E defending against Jay Lethal with Cookie hanging above the ring in a cage. I don't like this match because I don't like the Shore gimmick. I've said this before. It's a disaster movie parody. It's transparent. It's unnatural. It's uncreative. Excuse me. And I just don't like the gimmick. And nothing against the talent. He might be decent, but that's just how I feel. The character doesn't work for me. I would hope Lethal would go over, but I'm not going to hold my breath. But, the rest of the card, we've got Beer Money and Ink Inc. and a contenders match. It'll be a popcorn match, but it's better than, say, Jenna and Sharmell or the 10 Divas tag at WrestleMania this year. I think they could have a solid match together. A nice little fun filler match. Beer Money usually works well with anybody. They're my favorite tag team in the business, so I'm pretty high on them. And Ink Inc., a lot of people seem to hate them. I don't think they're that bad, and I'm usually hard on Shannon Moore, but I just feel like they've done all right. I mean, they're not as good as the core nucleus of TNA tag teams, which would be the Guns, Beer Money, and Gen Me, but I think they're pretty good, or they're at least okay. And I'm gonna pick Beer Money to go over in a solid little filler match, no problems. We got the Knockouts Falls Count Anywhere match, Mickie James versus Tara. I think Mickie has added a bit of a spark to the division, and that's good because they've had nothing interesting going for a while. Probably over a year. So I heard these two had a good match at the last pay-per-view. That's good. And I think they can have a good one here, especially with all the brawling they've been doing on Impact. This kind of match fits. Excuse me. I'll pick Mickie to go over and continue her path to eventually becoming the champion. So that's good. We got Rhino versus RVD in a first blood match. I think it'll be a solid hardcore match. I like both guys. Rhino's leaving apparently, so obviously RVD goes over. So yeah, do the match. RVD goes over. Rhino says goodbye, and it's fine, solid, no problems. Television title match. This one's gonna be good. AJ Styles defending against Douglas Williams. You have a great high-flying guy in AJ Styles. You have a great mat-based technician in Douglas Williams. And I think the two styles are going to mesh very well. I think these two could have a hell of a match together, and I think it's going to be kind of the sleeper hit of the show. There are two matches on this card that when I looked up and down, I thought, hey, that could be very good, and this is one of them. I'm going to pick AJ to retain in what should be one of the better matches on the show, definitely. So keep an eye out for that one. I think that one's going to be really good. And then we got a casket match between the Pope D'Angelo Dinero and the Monster Abyss. And I like the Pope. I generally like anything that he does. And these two they've been pushing around a casket for like 2 months. So obviously this this kind of gimmick match was going to happen. I'm going to pick the Pope to go over just because I want him to. He's one of my favorites, and I kind of want to see him get on a path that will eventually lead him to the main event. And if you're going to do that, he's going to have to win matches. So please have him go over here. Be nice. Just saying. So yeah, I think that match will be okay. Then we have a submission match between Jeff Jarrett and Samoa Joe. I like what they've been doing with Jeff Jarrett. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know how other people feel about it, but anybody that'll put the ankle lock on a 7-year-old is it's pretty hysterical in my book. I would never approve of it in real life, but whenever in the world of entertainment, whenever kids are made fun of or pushed around a little bit, I kind of think it's funny. Like in Billy Madison, I love the dodgeball scene. It's just, or on SNL when they did that song with what's that guy's name? Adam Sandberg, Andy Sandberg. I don't know his name, but he does these music videos for SNL. And he did this one where he threw a kid's birthday cake on the ground, and I thought it was the greatest thing ever. So yeah, I like watching kids get made fun of. So as long as it's not real. But yeah, I think these two could have a good match together given the chance. The problem, well, I guess it's not a problem. Part of me thinks that Joe's just going to storm the ring and kill Jarrett in 30 seconds. I don't know why I feel that way. It's just an inkling I have. But I'm going to pick Joe to go over either way just to avenge his loss from last month. But yeah, that could be a really good match as well. And then we have the other match that I was really looking forward to, and the one that I think will be the match of the night, and that's the Tag Team Championship Full Metal Mayhem match. Motor City Machine Guns versus Generation Me. And isn't it kind of hilarious that the tag title match and the television title match are better X Division matches than the X Division title match? Just throwing that out there. But yeah, the Guns to me have been kind of the MVPs of TNA this year. Ever since the series with Beer Money, they've just been on fire, having great matches left and right, and just they've been the best thing to watch in TNA. Kind of like how I feel Daniel Bryan has been the workhorse of the WWE lately. He's just having the best matches, and the Guns are that way for TNA right now. I could hate the show completely, but usually I walk away thinking, the Guns match was pretty good, though. And that brawl they had on Reaction, and I normally don't like the way that Reaction is shot with the shaky handheld documentary-style camera work, but that brawl they had was amazingly well done, and came off like a real fight. I was really happy with how that turned out, and I think these two teams will have a hell of a match. They tend to work really well together, so why not? And I also think this is kind of TNA pissing in WWE's pool, because WWE has a TLC pay-per-view coming up, which I guess I'll get into that in a few weeks. And I think they just want to show, it's like, hey, we can do it better. And, they picked the right guys to do it. I think the Guns and Jen Me can have a very good match here. Definitely match of the night. I think the Guns streak of having the match of the night at TNA pay-per-views is going to continue because it seems like they always do. I'm going to pick the Guns to go over and London Brawling to return and attack them after the match. Desmond Wolfe and Magnus. And they'll do that feud that was supposed to happen in September. And then we have the main event. The Antichrist of Wrestling, Jeff Hardy, defending the title against the Blueprint Matt Morgan with Mr. Anderson as the guest referee. I think these two could have a solid match together. The build-up's been a little bit better this time around. It feels less rushed, and I'm a little bit more accepting of Morgan as a viable contender than I was a month ago, where he was obviously just rushed to that spot because he's big. It's like, oh, Anderson went down. Let's put Morgan there. He's big. that was really the amount of thought that went into it, I think. But, I think these two can have a solid match as long as they don't do anything screwy. Don't do a weird heel turn with Anderson, please. It won't make any sense for him to help the guy that gave him a massive concussion to win the match. It won't make any sense at all. Please don't do anything with this rookie referee where he tries to screw Morgan out of the match. That's just too, iffy. I wouldn't be surprised if they did it, but, yeah. Hardy's going to go over regardless of what happens, because I think they're going to set him up for bigger matches down the road with Anderson and RVD and Kurt Angle. But, yeah, this could be a solid little main event. Hardy's going to go over, no surprise. And that is the final resolution card, final TNA pay-per-view of the year, and I think they have a chance to have their strongest show in a while. So hopefully they deliver on that. Like, the two big matches are the tag title match and the television title match. And I think if those deliver, people will walk away from the pay-per-view feeling pretty good. And as long as they don't do anything stupid in the main event. I think this could wind up being one of the better shows in a while. And the rest of the card's pretty solid, except for the fact that it's kind of over-gimmicked. But then again, looking at the gimmicks, none of them, I can't really say too many of them don't fit. Maybe the first blood match wasn't necessary, but other than that, it's kind of like, these gimmicks do kind of fit their respective feuds, so I can't bash it too heavily outside of maybe they should have saved a few for the next show and against all odds and later and so forth. Not pull the trigger on everything right away. But, yeah, like I said, it's not a bad card, so will I order it? I'm going to be watching football that day, so it's going to be a game day decision. We'll see. If you do order it, I hope you enjoy it. I hope it delivers. And I'll see you all next week for my question and answer video. So have a good weekend and have fun.